for this conversation, I actually wanted to get into how disgraceful our media is, because if we just keep in, if I just try and keep up with the thousands of emails that keep coming out, I'm going to skip over what I think is kind of the media becoming like state-run media. You know, you see in countries like Russia or certain Middle East countries, they have media that is literally a messaging arm of the government. And what you're seeing in our media currently is literally resembling that. It's scary. I mean, I knew from day one of joining the Young Turks that, we're in very rare company at the Young Turks, other independent media. We don't have corporate overlords dictating what we say, what we cover. And if I did, I wouldn't be here. But you look at CNN, you look at MSNBC, you look at the New York Times, you look at Washington Post, we could go on. It's almost like there's an alternate reality going on, that there is not thousands of emails out there showing direct corruption on the part of the Democratic nominee for president and her campaign. Some emails are just simply, politics and the campaign bitching about certain people, the campaign deciding how to message certain things. And some emails are literally showing that Hillary Clinton and her campaign are changing positions on the fly based on which primary they want to win, reaching an objective. And as I said in a prior video, she's like the Clay candidate. It's almost like they are literally molding her on the fly in real time to win the election. So everything Bernie said, everything progressives have said forever, it's kind of being shown in these emails. The problem is the mainstream media, if you ask me, I don't have hidden cameras. I don't even think they're going through the emails, to tell you the truth. Which brings me to Donald Trump. I get criticized a lot for not covering Trump and that he's a sexual predator and I'm helping the Russians and I'm un-American and all these things. Well, first of all, you guys who watch TYT Politics would know that I just got back from a trip covering Donald Trump. I was with him for 4 days and we covered 3 different rallies. I've probably covered at least 25 to 30 of his rallies over the last year. My colleague Eric Byler, who's my cameraman and editor, is currently covering Trump rallies. He was at one in Florida. You could go watch that video, which is up on TYT Politics, and he's going to cover Trump for the next few days. Emma, my colleague, also did a video this morning updating you guys on the latest sexual assault claims from, I think at this point, 4 new women have come out against Trump. So the fact that I don't cover Donald Trump 24/7, or this channel doesn't cover Trump 24/7, doesn't mean that I'm trying to elect Donald Trump, or I'm a secret puppet for the Russian government, or Emma is. It means I come from the school of thought, I want to be unique. I don't want to just do what everyone else is doing. Do I think it's extremely important news that there are women coming out saying that Donald Trump, without their consent, fondled their breasts, went up their skirt, other accusations? Of course I do. And we're covering it. Emma just did a video this morning. But I'm not going to cover Trump 24/7 because it's of no value to you guys, the audience. You could get that on the mainstream media. Frankly, the Young Turks covers Trump a lot, which I've been honest about. I don't necessarily agree with how much they cover him, but you sure could get a lot of Trump on the main show and the mainstream media. So I'm offering something that is a rarity, which is actual journalism on Hillary Clinton. It doesn't mean that I am ignoring Trump's predatory behavior, which at this point is alleged. We can't convict him, whether you like Donald Trump or not. We don't convict people in America without a trial or serious evidence. But I just wanted to say that because I'm getting really sick and tired. I don't really pay attention to trolls, but I'm also getting heat from Democratic operatives and other journalists that I am basically spoon-feeding what WikiLeaks wants us to report. And I'm trying to help elect Donald Trump. Honestly, this is very similar to what all the media that were cheerleading for the Iraq War in 2001 and 2002, this is what those people, politicians, pro-war media, would say about journalists who actually covered the war critically and said, we need more information, we need more evidence before we go to war. People like Amy Goodman in Democracy Now! Very rare group of people who actually covered and investigated whether we should be going to war without direct evidence before we actually went to war. And they were called un-American and, working with the terrorists. It's not so much different. I don't want to be dramatic, but it's pretty similar. So I'm a big boy. I could take criticism, but at this point, it's no longer trolls. It's other journalists. And I wanted to read you examples of what I think is just, in some cases, totally shameful coverage, but on the other cases, totally tone deaf and stupid coverage, where the mainstream media, because it's made up of elitists and people who do very well economically and people who don't have any cynicism to their brains, they'd say, oh, nothing to see in these emails. So there's two problems. Number one, it's very clear to me that people like Chris Hayes from MSNBC is not actually taking the time to dig into the emails. And he has not told his staff of producers to do so. Because if they did, trust me, you'd be finding stuff. It's not just Jordan making stuff up. Everything I'm tweeting out, everything that Emma's tweeting out, these are facts from the emails. These are not me inventing emails. Glenn Greenewald, Lee Fang from The Intercept. We are reporting what's in these emails. We're not making stuff up. But because MSNBC, because CNN is obsessed with Donald Trump, I think part of it is they have a little guilt complex because they are the reasons Donald Trump has risen to this level. But on the other end, Donald Trump is giving them extremely, extremely amazing ratings. So they are latching on to their sugar high of Donald Trump. But I messaged, Chris Hayes did an interview with Glenn Greenewald. Obviously, Glenn Greenewald of The Intercept broke a lot of the reporting when it comes to Edward Snowden. Chris Hayes interviewed Glenn Greenewald last night and essentially said, I don't think people's private messages, even people in Hillary Clinton's campaign, is fair game. I think people have a right to privacy. And journalists who are digging into these emails are essentially rubber stamping what WikiLeaks wants us to do, which is help take down Hillary Clinton and help elect Donald Trump. I don't remember Chris Hayes speaking this way when Edward Snowden's revelations came out about the NSA. I doubt that he thinks that the Pentagon Papers were a bad thing, even though those were illegally obtained. So it seems to me there seems to be selective measurements in terms of mainstream journalists that WikiLeaks, no, Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign, they have a right. Thank you. It's Glenn Greenewald, excuse me for mispronouncing. If it's the powerful and it's Hillary Clinton's people, they have a right to privacy. So we should not meddle. We shouldn't even look at the emails, according to Donna Brazil. But we definitely shouldn't be reporting on them because these are private conversations. And would I want my emails hacked? You know what? As you become a public figure, whether it's in politics or something else, this is 2016. This is the big leagues, folks. I've always been careful what's in my emails. I'm sure if my emails were released, there would be some things in it that I'm embarrassed about, that I didn't want to be out, that make me look bad. There's nothing in there that I could think of that would be scandalous. And I'm sure in your emails, if they were exposed, there would be some embarrassing things that you don't want out. So yes, do I believe people have a right to privacy? Yes. However, this is the Democratic nominee for the presidency. This is her campaign chairman email, and he might potentially be the chief of staff to Hillary Clinton. So do I think because they were illegally obtained that we shouldn't be looking at them? No, I don't. I think that is that's propping up the powerful. That's basically saying, you know what, all people have a right to privacy, and even though there's things in here that might be scandalous, we shouldn't, nothing to see here, shouldn't look. So, and I'm surprised actually coming from Chris Hayes, who I actually like Chris Hayes. I'm not bashing Chris Hayes. I've spoken with him. I think he's a nice guy. Of all the media people, I think he's one of the better ones, which isn't saying much, but I like Chris Hayes. But for someone who at The Nation, he's a fairly progressive guy, or he used to be, to basically say, oh, it's Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, everybody has a right to privacy. I don't agree with that. I think you want to talk about I'm spoon feeding what WikiLeaks wants me to do. You're spoon feeding what the Hillary Clinton campaign wants you to do, which is to close your eyes and not pay attention and just go wall to wall Donald Trump. So I don't want to hear that I'm a puppet or we're puppets for covering what's in these emails. The bottom line is WikiLeaks has never been challenged for untrue statements have gone out that they have forged documents. WikiLeaks has a 100% authenticity record in 10 years. Nobody has ever been able to prove that they have forged the document or sent out false documents. So my assumption is these are real emails. Hillary Clinton in the debate. She acknowledged the speeches that were exposed in those emails. So, by Chris Hayes saying, oh, nothing to see here, we shouldn't invade people's privacy, it's a joke. I also want to point out CNN, when they've taken a break from their breathless coverage of Donald Trump, which is at this point wall-to-wall 24/7, they're done covering the effects of the hurricane in Florida. They aren't covering the escalating tensions and outright police brutality happening in North Dakota at Standing Rock. We don't need to cover that. Let's just cover Donald Trump. Which, by the way, to repeat, if you're coming to this late, I think he should be covered. I think charges of assault should be covered. But last time I checked, you're a 24/7 cable news network. You could chew gum and walk at the same time. You could cover more than one thing at a time. But it's not that they can't do it. They don't want to cover Hillary Clinton. So I want to read you some excerpts from an interview Don Lemon of CNN did last night. I was watching it and I was blown away. Completely blown away. Don Lemon, I like Don Lemon. He said some stupid things on TV, including that, maybe aliens sucked in the missing Malaysia Airlines airliner, which got him a lot of media attention. However, Don Lemon had a guy named William Cohen on last night. William Cohen is a contributing editor for Vanity Fair. He's written a lot about economics and capitalism, and he's pretty much an establishment, capitalism is great kind of guy. And sorry if you're seeing my spit. I am very parched. I haven't drinking enough water, as you can tell by the bags under my eyes, but I keep it real. So my hair is disheveled, my face is disheveled, I'm sick, so I'm just doing the best I can. So Don Lemon interviews William Cohen last night on CNN. Doesn't go into at all the latest developments shown in Podesta Leaks Part 4, Part 5. 6 came out today. So they didn't go into the latest revelations. They're just talking in general, is there anything to see in these emails? So again, Don Lemon, it's clear, has not gone into these emails, has not looked closely at these emails, and has not instructed his staff to look into these emails. So Don Lemon asks William Cohen, the writer from Vanity Fair, do you think there's anything juicy in these emails? William Cohen, quote, instead of pandering to Wall Street, she actually showed a pretty good understanding of what Wall Street is all about. She actually understood some of the nuances of what makes the capital markets effective and what Wall Street's role in that is. She also articulated that to Goldman Sachs and Deutsche Bank. She also insisted that these bankers need to take control of their own regulation. In other words, if they don't self-regulate, if they didn't change the way they do business, then big-time Washington regulators would do it for them. So this guy, in all his brilliance, this Vanity Fair writer, he inferred from the section of her Wall Street speeches to banks like Goldman Sachs and Deutsche Bank, oh no, she was actually showing a very excellent understanding of how the banks work. And she was actually saying to the banks, if you don't fix yourself, Washington's going to come in and do it for you. This was his interpretation of what Hillary Clinton was telling the banks. Of course, Don Lemon didn't challenge it. He just agreed with it. Any objective person who read those transcripts and read them more than once, which I have, knows that that is preposterous, what this writer said. Hillary Clinton was basically telling the banks, I think you guys, she used terms like misunderstanding. She used terms like there was a lot of politicizing going on about your role in the economic crash. So basically she was kissing their ass saying, you guys are just misunderstood. She then said, the people that really understand the most about regulation are the people from the industry themselves. So he's saying she was basically warning them, if you guys don't fix your practices, if you guys don't stop with this fraud, DC is going to come in and do it for you. She actually was saying the exact opposite thing. She was saying, you guys know how to regulate yourself best. So I need you guys to help us in fixing things. And I need you guys to work with us so we could help foster a better economy. She was telling banks, you guys are the best to regulate yourself. So you guys do it. That's not me disliking Hillary Clinton. That is what most objective people and also most journalists who have reported on this have inferred. This is what she was telling the banks. Oh, don't worry about us regulating. You guys know how to regulate best. She also said things like, I think you guys are the best to fix your own issues. Yeah, the people who, when you deregulated and gave them carte blanche to do whatever the fuck they wanted, played, poker and casino with other people's money, destroying the economy. They know how to fix themselves. And regulation, it's left to them is better. Let's leave it to them. But you have this guy from Vanity Fair saying what she really meant. It was a stern warning that if you guys don't regulate yourself, Washington, D.C. is going to come in and do it for you. So this is the kind of cognitive idiocy that goes on CNN. And you have Don Lemon. Don Lemon responds. Give me a second. Some people are looking at this as a yawn. And then obviously her political opponents are saying, oh my God, this is proof she's corrupt. So Don Lemon is saying some people are looking at this as a yawn. Whenever you hear some people in cable news, it actually means the person who's saying it thinks it. They just use some people to make it seem like this is coming from other people. I used to work at MSNBC. I worked at Fox. This is a practice Fox News started, and now CNN, MSNBC. Some people say. So Don Lemon, some people say, some people look at this as a yawn. And then obviously her political opponents are saying, oh God, this is proof. So on one hand, you have people like Chris Hayes saying you're a bad person if you look at these emails or report on them. You're just rubber stamping what WikiLeaks is trying to do, which is to take down Hillary Clinton and elect Donald Trump. And other people basically making up shit based on their elitist interpretation of what Hillary Clinton was telling the banks, and then getting no pushback from journalists at CNN. So I've been busy, so I haven't even watched MSNBC and CNN for the most part for the last few days, because I'm looking at WikiLeaks. But this is just one snippet of, I can't get in people's heads, so I don't know if it's intentional or just these people live in a bubble where Hillary Clinton was just telling the banks, you guys better self-regulate or we're coming after you. She was not telling the banks that. She was saying the exact opposite thing. So I think what I'm trying to get at in this rant, as you would call it, and I'm too tired to really fly off the handle, and it's not my style to do that. But this is really at the point of media censorship. The media is right to cover Donald Trump, but it's wrong to do it at the expense of actually investigating what's in these leaks. Because last time I checked, the media did not fail to report on the revelations from Edward Snowden. Obviously, the Pentagon papers were obtained illegally. Media reported on that back in the 70s. So I don't want to hear about this was illegally obtained and John Podesta has a right to privacy. John Podesta is a political, he's a political lifer. If he was stupid enough and the campaign was stupid enough to put a lot of these things in writing, it's not my problem. My job is to expose corruption, not empathize with John Podesta's right to privacy. Okay? And you know what? If my emails were hacked, yeah, I'd be pissed. I wouldn't want them released. But who am I to say, I have a right to privacy? Everybody has a right to privacy when it's them. But for other people, when it suits your interest, nope, we have to report it. It's about journalistic ethics. So it's a lot of bullshit, if you ask me. And that's my rant.